Good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time zone that you're joining us from. My name is Jonathan Schoonover, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Strategic Practice for Tennesseans for Quality Early Education. You've joined us for another Bright Start Tennessee Network Lunch and Learn, where we discuss topics that are pertinent to the work that is happening all across the state in our Bright Start communities. Today we'll be talking about defining and measuring school readiness. We're glad that you've joined us today and joined us over watching the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics. So glad that you've joined us. Or perhaps you did watch that and now you're watching the recording of this online afterwards. Either way, we're glad to have you here as we talk about this very important topic around defining and measuring school readiness. For those of you that may be new to this network, Tennesseans for Quality Early Education is a nonpartisan coalition of advocates for Tennessee's youngest learners. We're really focused on these state policies and practices that ensure that all Tennessee children from birth through third grade get the high quality care and education that they need to power our state's future. And as a part of that, we started up this Bright Start Tennessee Network. It is the statewide network of community partnerships that's really focused on closing achievement and opportunity gaps for all Tennessee children, again, birth through third grade. We're covering about 62% of the state of Tennessee now. So we've got the two new communities that have joined our original 6 cohort are going strong. We've got an orientation coming up soon in South Central. We've got the working groups are all happening with Upper Cumberland, and they're about to do their strategy selection. So excited about all that as well. But things are going great across the state. Those of you that have been part of this know that we kind of have 3 domains that we're focused on to get to that North Star of third grade reading and math proficiency. It takes high quality birth through age 8 learning environments being on track. It takes physical and mental health and development being on track beginning at birth. And then it takes supported and supportive families and communities. All 3 of those kind of functioning well. And we broke that down even further into these 15 measures of success. The cool thing about what we're talking about today, the strategy that these 2 communities in Northeast Tennessee with their 10 counties and Chattanooga with their 1 county but 1 larger school, metro school system, is that this strategy really affects a lot of different components of this framework. It's really in that high quality early learning environments, but it's one of these that's a little bit more of a meta strategy because it's almost like a strategy to make sure that we're measuring things to where we can understand where kids are coming in and what they're doing. The state of Tennessee does not have a current standardized method for us to assess children across the state. And there's reasons behind that. But today, what we're going to be talking about is 2 communities that have said, we really want to understand what the experiences that they've had beforehand and where they're at as far as their school readiness when they show up for the doors in kindergarten. So today, very excited to kind of kick things off. We're going to look at 2 different communities. The first, we've got 3 folks from Northeast Tennessee. We've got Beth Huber she's our Bright Start Fellow, Collective Impact Specialist there at Strong ACC. Dr. Hyde is the Director of the Comprehensive Educational Resources with Niswonger. And then Dr. Dishner, who is the President and CEO of Niswonger, is joining us. She's also, I need to say this, a beloved board member of TQEE as well. So, and then we're going to kick things over to kind of the more urban approach with 1 school district with Jennifer Andrews, our Bright Start Fellow in Chattanooga, Hamilton County, and to look at what they've done with Chattanooga 2.0. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass things over to Beth to get us started as we get going here. All right, stop share here. Me, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and then I'll start to spotlight you all and we'll just kind of take it from there.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Beth Huber, and like Jonathan mentioned, I'm the Collective Impact Specialist for the Strong Accountable Care community. And I also am the Bright Start Fellow for Northeast Tennessee. So just a little information about Strong Accountable Care community. Strong stands for striving towards resilience and opportunities for our next generation. And we actually work alongside over 400 partners in both Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. We are a multi-sector independent collective impact coalition focused on cradle to career. And we actually have 6 goals that are part of our strategic planning for our region. Mia, would you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So the relationship between school readiness and the first 3 goals of the Strong ACC can be seen in our first 3 goals, which are great beginnings, thriving at 5, and early grade success. So obviously, for great beginnings, for all 3 of these goals, school readiness is important. And understanding where children are when they enter the school system kind of allows us to look back from prenatal through 5 and also looking ahead. So school readiness is an important measure. Next slide, please. For our Bright Start strategic plan, we do have 3 goals. And goal number 1 is to increase the percentage of economically disadvantaged 3rd graders on track in reading and math by 15 percentage points in the region by 2025. So again, and Jonathan showed the slide about all the metrics that are involved in school readiness. So it was very important for Northeast Tennessee to look at the different ways that schools were measuring readiness, which Mia will go in a little bit more detail. And then also, I just want to point out too that we do have 10 counties and 17 school districts. And so this project was taken on by the Niswonger Foundation, and we are so grateful for the work that they have done over the past couple years. I haven't been directly involved in the project, but I've kind of been a cheerleader and bystander, have attended their meetings, and just watched this incredible group of leaders led by Dr. Hyde and Dr. Dalton get us to the point where we are today. So I want to introduce Dr. Nancy Dishner as the CEO and Executive Director of the Niswonger Foundation, and Dr. Mia Hyde is the Director of the Curriculum Educational Resources and has been the lead on this project. Thank you.
Beth, thank you so much. And Beth is incredibly modest. She has not been a bystander. She's been at our meeting contributing each time. And so we're very, very grateful that she is part of this work. And to each one of you who joined us, say thank you. I know and I feel confident that we are preaching to the choir this morning. I love doing that. I know that you believe in this work. And so thank you for joining and thinking about these ideas, because when we think about collective impact, when we think about partnership, we know that if we can get this seeded in any one part of our state, we have the chance to really have a strong voice to help our state to see that this is powerful work and something that we could accomplish together across the state. So we wanted to take just a moment to tell you the why, but I think you know the why, but I will tell you a little bit about what sparked our interest. And of course, you heard the Bright Start goals. That certainly was a catalyst for us thinking about this being a possibility. We also know that we had Ballad behind us as far as the community health improvement initiatives and Ballad, their ACC, Strong ACC. We know that those 2 alignments really gave us the strength to think about what we might be able to do in partnership. The Niswonger Foundation has a 22-year history of doing everything we do by partnership. We don't do things independently because we know and we believe in the power of working together, that it takes a village to really be successful with work. But what we knew is that we had a very disconnected effort as far as knowing how students were going to arrive at kindergarten and how they're going to be prepared for those first years in school. I have a huge passion for this myself. My first professional position was as a kindergarten teacher. So my love and passion is understanding that's where we can begin to really make that difference in public education. But what happened prior to that? And what could we do to affect that would help those children to be better prepared for coming into those classrooms? And that was something we were incredibly interested in finding out. So the very early part of the process was really surveying and finding out that our school districts, and this is our basic footprint for the foundation, is 17 school districts of Northeast Tennessee. Although we have one of our programs in almost every school district in Tennessee, But the 17 school districts were the footprint for this work, and asking them the question, what are you doing? How are you surveying? And how are you learning how that student is arriving in your kindergarten setting? And what we learned was that it was a completely mixed bag. Some were doing assessment, some were using their own instrument, some a bought instrument, and so forth. Some were taking that information and actually doing something with it. Others were filing it away. And so the opportunity was tremendous to think about that. And also to think about the fact that it wasn't that they didn't want to do better with that process, but for a small rural school district, it's hard to think about the funding that it would take to really get this thing rolling and make it happen. So that was the beginning and the catalyst for that work. And so what you see in front of you very quickly, I will say, is what you're going to hear threaded through this conversation for the next few minutes. So we know that we had the catalyst of the Bright Start and a ballot health. We had us and our willingness at the Niswonger Foundation to take the lead in the work. So these last 2 years have been spent in a very intentional effort of bringing in those 17 partner school districts and letting them help to guide how that was going to be structured and formatted. And so now we come to the summer of 2024 and the fact that over 6,000 students, new kindergartners, are assessed this summer and we are going to have those data to begin to help us to inform our work forward, to help the kindergarten teacher be prepared for their arrival, to be able to think about how we can inform our child care centers about how they can better help students to be prepared, how we can help families to understand that. A tremendous thing to think about as we're moving forward with the goal. So you're going to hear some more information now from the superstar of this work, Dr. Mia Hyde, who has been the leader in this work along with Dr. Tony Dalton. We're sorry that Dr. Dalton is not with us today, but importantly to this work, he is an everyday practitioner in Hamlin County. In early childhood. So it was important to us that we have that person who actually is on the front and knows exactly what's happening and how teachers are feeling about the process, what he's seeing with his students. So Mia, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you all. What a lovely introduction. And it is just a pleasure to be here with you all today. And thank you for your time. When we were asked to do this, I wanted to spend some time really reflecting on what I thought were the big takeaway pieces from the 2 years that we've been working on this project. And so I'm just going to kind of highlight for you those kind of big things that I think really made this work. And then at the end of our presentation, you have our year 1 and year 2 goals with all of our action steps that really tell you exactly how we went about doing this. So the first big takeaway that I think is really important is that we created a goal and action steps from the very beginning of this work. We established a goal to have 75% of our LEAs agree to using the same school readiness screening measure. So when we formed the working group, we were really clear on where we were headed, and we let them know they had 2 years, to invest in this process and to really build buy-in and get themselves ready for this endeavor. And I'm happy to say we met that goal and we exceeded it as well. But this was really important that we let people know, what the roadmap looked like. And then we created action steps that were the leading indicators. So we worked backwards from that goal and really thought about all the things that needed to be in place to make this goal happen. And the action steps focused on recommendations of the working group, but they allowed for differentiation for each LEA. So we would work through the action steps, talk about, what we thought it should look like what we would like folks to be doing, but ultimately the districts would be able to go back and fine tune it to the needs of their district. As Dr. Dishner said, we have a wide variety of district structures in Northeast Tennessee. We have actually we have two single school districts. They're single K-8 districts with only about 600 students. And then we have, large suburban districts with, 10,000 or more students. And then we have very rural districts with about 6,000 students in it. So a lot of variety, and we wanted to set forth what we thought was a good plan, but that allowed for individualization in the districts. And lastly, everything was planned and executed by the working group, including our collaboration, the autonomy, and a clear direction. So we worked through all of the pieces as a team. It was really important for us at the foundation to ensure that every member of the working group felt like they had a voice in the process. They were not being forced to do anything. It was their choice, and we wanted it to be that way from the very beginning. The working group represents one instructional leader from every district. Usually that was an instructional supervisor. Depending on the size of the district, it might have been their elementary supervisor, their pre-K supervisor. In some of our districts, smaller districts where, central office folks wear a lot of hats, they actually sent a kindergarten teacher. We had a small district that sent their elementary school principal. So, and one district that actually sent their superintendent. So we had a variety of roles represented on the working group, and it was their choice as far as who they wanted to send to represent their district. The next big area that I wanted to highlight is the importance of building trust and ownership. And to begin with, the school districts had a foundation of trust with the Niswonger Foundation and the project I represent, CER. The Niswonger Foundation has been working with these school districts for a number of years, building trust and along the way. And then particularly to the work that I do with the school districts around their benchmark data and sharing their data, and also just creating a collaborative environment where it's okay to talk about things that you've been working on that you want to improve. All of those things are really important. And so we had this foundational, kind of trust from the foundation and CER. But then we had to build trust within the working group. A lot of our working group members didn't know each other. And we had to really break down some of those walls. Sometimes they're competitive, sometimes we make assumptions about, other pluses and minuses that districts face and those kinds of things. And so we did a lot of working together within the working group to build trust. And also we wanted to build trust with external partners. We did have, a number of partners represented there, including Ballad Health and the CHI representative, and Beth, a strong ACC, Mark Cruz joined, as well as other Birth to 5 program folks, like our folks from Cocke County that asked to sit in, Amy Doran with the Niswonger Children's Network. And so we had a lot of folks that were in the room, and we really wanted everybody to feel comfortable in sharing where they were in the process, what their thoughts were, and their hurdles. And lastly, we had to build trust around the data collection for the screener. And we were very open about this from the beginning, that not only would they be administrating the screener, but they would be sharing their data from the screener. So we have a lot of great ideas for what's next as far as how we're going to use that data, but we wanted our district partners to feel comfortable in sending their kindergarten readiness screener to the Niswonger Foundation for us to be able to use that data in meaningful ways. And the second piece of that is really having the districts to have ownership over this project. Again, we didn't want it to feel like something we were forcing on them. We wanted them to feel like this is something that they owned. And so we did create a readiness definition. What does it mean to be school ready? And that actually took us the whole first year. It took a lot of norming, looking at standards, looking at national examples, talking to national experts about what that means, and really norming our understanding of what it means to be ready for school. And then buy-in on the importance of a screening tool. As Dr. Dishner said, we had folks who really were not using anything at all, perhaps maybe a sight and a vision and a hearing screening tool to folks that were using a lot of different tools. And we wanted everybody to feel that this was important, not something that they had to do, but something that they wanted to do. And that took time. And then selecting the screening tool. We didn't want this to feel like something that was predetermined because some people were using a tool. We had a variety of tools being used, and we wanted to really bring in experts and begin with a full vetting process. And you can read more about how we did that in our subsequent slides. But then going into the districts forming their own teams for selecting the tool was really important. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. We had to have ownership on alignment for how and when to give the screening tool. Every district had a different method for that. They may have used teachers' assistants, some used teachers, some of those screened in the spring, some in the summer, and some in the fall. And so we really had to work together and talk through if there was a way in which we could really align on what we felt was the best way to give the tool when and who should be giving it. And then lastly, we had to create ownership around using the data in multiple ways to support students, parents, teachers, administrators, and external partners. This to me is actually one of the biggest learnings for us. Prior to this endeavor, most of our school districts were using their screening tool for student enrollment and placement into classes. And then that tool was placed in their CUME folder, permanent record, whatever you want to call it. But it was, used for one thing and then put away and not really looked at again. And a lot of times those results weren't communicated with anybody, that parents or like I said, any, external stakeholders to really improve readiness overall. So we have a big opportunity in front of us with using this data and really helping our districts to understand that there's a lot that can be done with the screening data. So, again, building this strong collaborative process is essential. I encourage everybody to, if you're thinking about doing this work, to select a lead organization that has responsibility for the project. Having Niswonger Foundation as the lead, our central hub, was essential for keeping the work to move forward and creating the plan, setting up all the meetings, everything that you can imagine, as well as doing the really hard lift of helping to find the funds for this work, which thank you to Dr. Dishner and Mark Cruz and others that really helped with that. Next, we really wanted to focus on collaborating around supporting the working group. So as I mentioned, we would work through an action step that might say something like, each school district must create a communication plan to share their school readiness definition. And within the working group, we would talk about what does that look like? What do we need? And then we created a flyer, a one-pager, a press release, social media tools. We were on the news, and all of these kinds of things. But That was just the working group work. We had to really help them to now go back to their district, talk to the powers that be, bring in their superintendent and their communication liaison and other important folks to say, what's the best way for us to release this school readiness definition within our district and with the various groups that we work with. And so this collaborative process was very important for us. Next, we had to guide our districts in creating teacher-centered review teams. And again, because all of our districts are different sizes, have a different number of schools, and so forth and so on, we came together as a working group to agree that this was an essential piece. And then we allowed them the autonomy to create their teacher teams based on the needs of their district. So in the larger districts, they might have had one like lead kindergarten teacher from each school. In our smaller districts, they would maybe have all of their kindergartners, all their kindergarten teachers working on the team. But we gave them autonomy to select that team. And having the teachers work on the review process is essential. I cannot minimize that at all. The buy-in from the teachers, the folks closest to the work, having decisions in the work, was very important to the success of this project and getting all of our districts in agreement around the things that we were working on. And last, we really worked to unite external partners in supporting our work. We've highlighted a lot of that today, but it just cannot go unsaid that this was an extremely vital part of the work. And we wanted our school districts to feel like we were all working together towards this goal. And from there, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Dishner.
Thank you, Mia. And just a quick word in summary. The old African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And I think that that's what we want to just leave you with, with the message that at the Niswonger Foundation, we believe we are the success we are because we have done everything we do in partnership. And this is an extraordinary example of that, from Bright Start to the Strong ACC, Ballard's support, the Niswonger Foundation, and then those 17 school districts, and uniting their work around this common cause to support children. So it takes a village, but ownership is important. I think Mia has said, and I have said, you need that organization who's going to take the lead and going to do that uniting. And that is, so ownership is critical, but timing is absolutely everything. And this was the perfect storm. And we're very grateful for the opportunity to get it to this point. Jonathan, thanks for letting us share.
Absolutely. I'll pause for just a second and see if there's any questions while we're making the transition. And Jennifer, you can get your slides kind of ready to go as we talk about Chattanooga. Are there any questions that come to your mind as you're thinking about this, maybe either from some of our folks that are in other Bright Start communities that are regional approaches that you have for Dr. Dishner, Dr. Hyde, or Beth, as you're thinking about how could we do this in our community? What questions do you have? And if you don't have any right now, feel free. Oh, yep. Yeah, go
Jonathan,
for it.
I was just going to say, and while there is that brief pause, and then I know there's a question, but remember what Mia had shared as far as the attachments. I'm just going to mention that again. You're going to find a lot
fantastic
there, but the one thing that neither of us said to you was we are available. We are both very, very willing to talk. We'll catch up on a Zoom or a call anytime. If you lose our contact information, niswongerfoundation.org, you're going to find us.
That's right. And I'm glad you said that, Dr. Dishner. It was, they've got us, you saw like, I think 11 slides from them, and there's like 30 that they're going to send. So it's a whole bunch of more reference material. It's a plan that can literally be cut and paste and kind of be duplicated in that way. So very excited to kind of share those slides with you guys afterwards. All right. Well, let's turn it over to Jennifer. Let's shift to more of an urban suburban, a little bit of rural mix with what's going on in Chattanooga with Chattanooga 2.0 and Jennifer Andrews. I'll let you share your screen and I'm going to spotlight your video.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Andrews, and I'm the Director of Early Childhood Strategies for Chattanooga 2.0. And I just have to say first that our friends in Far East Tennessee, I feel like, had a much taller task to get all of those mini districts together. And it feels a little bit not easy, but easier to have one unified county school district that we brought together for this Kindergarten Ready campaign over the last year and a half. I'm going to minimize this meeting control. Okay, so someone just speak up if you can't hear me or can't see the screen. So in Chattanooga, I work for Chattanooga 2.0, which is a birth to career collective impact organization. And we are part of the Bright Start Tennessee network in our great state of Tennessee. And in the fall of 2022, we launched the Early Childhood Action Plan with our Early Matters Action Team. But first, we are not just focused on early childhood in Hamilton County. We are, as I said, birth to career, which means that we have goals that begin with kindergarten readiness and they end with the attainment of a thriving wage career. So we focus on elementary literacy proficiency, college and career ready graduates, and 6-year college attainment. So we are working to eliminate barriers to systems change so that residents in our county have better access to early education opportunities and then education and career opportunities. But kindergarten readiness is one of our key goals, and you will see there on the left that we currently don't have a baseline goal, but it is coming. It is currently being collected, so I'm kind of scooping myself there, and I'll get to that in a second. But you all are here. Some of you have heard me talk about, I think I spoke on this Kindergarten Ready campaign that we started in April or May of 2023, and we've had some new developments, some pretty graphics developed since then. But to give you a recap of the timeline. So in the spring of 2022, when we were creating the Early Care and Education Action Plan, we had early childhood educators and families that were beginning to share this need for guidance and clarity around kindergarten readiness. We heard from, when we did a community survey, we found that families didn't know. I personally currently have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, but at the time, I was also in the same boat as community parents who thought that their child would be ready for kindergarten, but couldn't say for sure because we didn't have one unified definition of what it really meant to be ready for kindergarten. I will stop and say that it is, sometimes I feel like it's semantics. We do believe that every child is ready for kindergarten and that they are ready to learn. And it is the role of the community to be ready, and the schools and the community to equip them with those foundational skills so that they have success in kindergarten. But in October 2022, we launched the Early Childhood Action Plan. And then in January of 2023, we brought together, as one of our strategies was kindergarten transition and alignment in the plan. And so we brought together this cross-sector body that included our teacher prep, so our local college, local four-year university and community college. We had our informal educators in the room. We had kindergarten and childcare experts. We had health representatives. We had Head Start. We had the Office of Early Learning. We had lots of the public school, Hamilton County School District representatives, and we brought them all together. That's them in the meeting for a half-day workshop to talk about what they felt like kindergarten readiness was. And we used lots of examples from our friends in Virginia and Georgia and Pennsylvania and other places where they did have a unified definition, common definition of kindergarten readiness. So we had them brainstorm across the early learning domains what they thought skills would be. And then what we did after that was took those list of skills and ran them by pediatricians, early childhood researchers at the local, state, and national level, and had them provide feedback about our definition and the skills. And I'll show you the definition a little bit. because we wanted to make sure that every skill that we came up with that children could be working on in the years leading up to kindergarten, specifically in the year leading up to kindergarten, was developmentally appropriate and would not cause undue harm if we were promoting to childcare teachers and parents that they should be working on this skill with young children. So we kind of filtered the list that way. And then we took that filtered list to kindergarten teachers and we did focus groups and surveys. And we asked the kindergarten teachers, okay, of all these skills, which ones do you think a child really needs on day one to have them be successful in their kindergarten year? What students who are successful in their kindergarten year have particular skill? Like, what are the skills that they have? And then we asked them to kind of prioritize them. And then in April of 2023, we did a quick and dirty redo of the Hamilton County Schools Ready, Set, Kindergarten activity booklet. And then kind of worked with partners over the next year. And I'm going to show you this April, it's not on my timeline here, but this April, we launched the full campaign for kindergarten readiness to try and get this information in the hands of parents, childcare educators, anyone working with children before they start kindergarten. And I am so thrilled that the Bracken Kindergarten Entrance Assessment is a nationally normed screener that is being administered as we speak to rising kindergarten students. And so they're collecting that baseline information right now, which is really exciting. Because I think along with many of you on this call, that we can't truly know what we need to tweak and how to do better in equipping children with those foundational skills until we know kind of what we're dealing with in terms of where we need to improve. So some findings from that focus group, teachers by and large said that they could teach the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s to children when they got to the classroom, but that they felt that children were lacking on the social emotional development, independence, and self-help skills. Or that those were the most important. And then they felt like fine motor skills, because more kids have been using tablets and doing less Play-Doh and playing in the dirt. And they've also been lacking social skills, the ability to begin to identify and name their emotions, and begin to self-regulate, and persistence in problem solving, which is important because in your childcare classroom, you have a lot less students per teacher. And then there's one teacher and a whole lot of kindergarten students. So for some children who have been used to getting that individualized attention, kindergarten can be a pretty big shock. And it's very stressful on the kindergarten teachers. So the campaign that we have launched, the definition basically says that it's our responsibility as communities, families, schools to provide children a strong foundation in the early learning skills area. And so we're kind of using this as a frame as we go out in community and continue to develop collaborative partnerships. We have our skills, excuse me, for children divided and organized under these skill areas. And as I've done trainings with pre-K teachers at the school district, I've done trainings with the private childcare pre-K teachers, and lots of other groups on our Kindergarten Ready campaign. And I like to share that what the K-Ready definition and skills are not, they are not an assessment. The Bracken entrance tool is a nationally normed assessment. These are a checklist of skills that parents can use to go through and see, okay, what are some things that I could be working on at home with my child? They're not a formal requirement of Hamilton County Schools. They're not an exhaustive list. They're not a reason to think that a student is failing before they start. And they are not something for parents to start working on the month before kindergarten. So we're working now to deliver these materials to children who would be starting kindergarten in fall of 2025, so that they have a full year to work on these skills that are appropriate for rising kindergarten students who are 4 and 5 years old. And they're not a replacement for love, adult conversation, and play. So they are a guide to engaging families and building their child's skills for school. And so in childcare, what we've done is we take them to the childcare provider and say, you've got a curriculum, you do what you do best, but we want to make sure that they have something to hand parents and say, hey, we're doing great work in the classroom over the next year to build some skills in your child, and you're going to love how much you see them grow. But there are things that you can be doing at home. Check out this website for some ways that you can have skill building conversations with your kid on the bus or in the car on the way to dropping them off, or when you're at the park, or when you're doing bath time. They are developmentally appropriate and they are aligned. It is an agreed upon list of skills between school district parents and educators. So this is what the skills flyer looks like. We've got a letter to families and the definition, and then the checklist on the back. And then we made sure to say, in the end, you should be contacting your pediatrician if you have concerns, because I don't need to be the one providing one-on-one assistance to families who feel like their child is not meeting any of developmental milestones. That is definitely a job for a medical professional. Then we also have a note at the bottom that these are for 4 and 5-year-olds, but if you want tips and activities to build, to nurture brain development and build foundational skills for children under 4, you should head over to our friends at the Chattanooga Basics. And I think many of you are familiar with the basics and other skill building principles for families. So other things, we've got the skills website, which I already put in the chat, with sample activities that parents can do with their child. We've got the activity booklet that we've printed physical copies, 5,000 of them, for families that we are giving to pre-K teachers to give to their parents. But we're also delivering them through the library and other programs, getting them out to as many parents as possible. And then the schools are giving them out at kindergarten registration in April. They did this year, and they'll be doing it again next year. We have great partnerships with people like the Creative Discovery Museum and PBS and the library, who are helping us create these activity videos, where in the form of a reel, because in the time of social media, you know that parents want something super quick that they can implement with very little effort. And so we've begun creating these videos, and PBS actually wrote into another grant that they got to produce a lot of these kindergarten ready videos for us. And they have recorded childcare teachers, teaching artists, and others locally who are explaining activities to parents. And so I've got a screenshot of that later I can show you. We also printed rack cards. We are also going to have UTC, our local university, created a substitute childcare teacher lesson plan toolkit that is indexed to the K-Ready skills. So if a teacher is like, you know what, looking at these skills, it's not an assessment, but if they feel like their children in their classroom really need more help on a particular skill, then they can flip to a lesson plan that is indexed to it, which I think is great. So we'll be delivering a copy of every one of those binders to every childcare provider business in Hamilton County this fall. And then what PBS did was link all of their existing resources. So they said, for this particular K-Ready skill, we've got a Daniel Tiger episode for that. And so we've linked that on the website. For this skill, we have a Molly of Denali episode, or we have a worksheet, or we have a variety of resources. And then Tennessee Voices, we're trying to promote locally that they have these positive parenting and nurturing family free classes for parents. And Tennessee Voices actually also submitted a video to our website as well. We have all of the resources available in Spanish. So you have the link in the chat if you want to check out the website. We've tried to make it very parent friendly, caregiver friendly, and also don't freak out if you feel like your kid doesn't have all of these skills, because they don't have to have all of them. We want it to be a starting place for children. This is a copy of the rack card that we have to put in community partners locations, some screenshots from the activity booklet here. We've got, I should say that the first booklet was created by the Creative Discovery Museum. And then Hamilton County Schools took it over. And so we have added some things to the booklet that are in alignment with the skills list. We put introductions and letters about the importance of families getting their children, equipping them with those skills from our county mayor, city mayor, and our superintendent. But some new things that we put in there include self-care for adults, because I don't know if how many of you are parents, but as a parent, I feel like it's a very stressful job, and this is a lot of information, and we don't want parents to feel like they are failing. And so some tips for just how to take care of yourself, including some links to Tennessee Voices for other supports. We also included health and nutrition, because that's parents in the survey and have indicated, one, that kids aren't getting enough sleep in Hamilton County, and we know that nutrition plays a big role. And so we made the pages interactive for kids. So if a parent has a booklet, they can choose to read the page with why does nutrition matter to kindergarten readiness? What are some ways you can support this at home? Or if they don't read it and they just hand it to their kid and say, hey, I got you this coloring book, children are also able to kind of interact with the pages. And we ran a social media campaign that is for 6 weeks about kindergarten readiness. We had, let's see if we can see that there, 95%, we had 2,800 social media engagements, and we were so thrilled that 95% of those came from Hamilton County, because we have a problem or issue with sometimes social media is, it is not a problem. But it is, when we are trying to reach residents of Hamilton County, a lot of the traffic we get is from other communities who are trying to see what we have done, which is fine, and we welcome that. But we were really trying to make sure that we targeted this social media campaign at grandparents and caregivers and parents of rising kindergarten students, so we could get this message to families. Lots of organic shares on this. It really seemed to resonate with families, especially the part about managing emotions. And then it ended in 4,000 visits to the actual Care Ready website. We have designed billboards, and we have a partnership with the local chamber that you can see these around town it's an evergreen campaign that's going over the course of the year. And then we have partner collaborations. I had no part in planning this, but they let me come to the Creative Discovery Museum. Head Start Hamilton County Schools had an awesome kindergarten night with stations. They're fantastic. The Chattanooga Library has incorporated the Kindergarten Ready campaign in their toddler time, baby bounce, other things, and they'll read a story and they'll do an activity with the children who come. And then they'll point to the poster on the wall and say, hey, did you know we were just working on this kindergarten skill? And they said it really has helped parents kind of make the connection of things that are just fun that they know to do with their kids are actually building skills for young children. So, and then we've started putting all of these videos, which we'll have probably 20 on here in the next month because of what PBS has been recording. But we started putting the videos on a YouTube playlist that's linked on the website, so that if one video gets played, they kind of we'll be able to have access to all of them, and we've got information there. We've also continued to ask parents their thoughts on this, so that we're not tone deaf, and we want to know what parents are thinking about the campaign. So in March, we did a survey for parents and asked them to go through the skill, because we were not able to collect baseline entrance screener data in the fall of 2023 like we had thought we would be able to do. And so since we were already running all of these campaign materials, we wanted some measure of, is this making a difference? Is it helping parents? And so we did a survey in March we got 140 parents across the county from all demographic and geographic income brackets, all areas of the county, which was really exciting. And those parents said, let us know on all of the skills how they felt that their child was doing. And then we sent them these resources over the summer. And then we just have been doing some focus groups of those parents to see how we might adjust the campaign. By and large, parents have really appreciated the checklist, so they just know one, it gives them a confidence boost in what their child already can do. And then two, it lets them know like, okay, these are maybe some areas that we could work on. So they've seemed to like it. And then the phase 2 of this, we just received funding to move into the next part, which will be hopefully some surveys of families whose children have just entered kindergarten to say, okay, what do you wish you had known in the year leading up to kindergarten now that they've been in kindergarten for a quarter? Also going to be doing some videos in partnership with the school district about, we tell you that you need to get a dental screening, a vision screening, and a hearing screening before you start. Well, what if you have no idea what that means or how to go about that? And so we're going to be doing some more helpful videos to parents to try and continually improve the communication to parents so that they have a better understanding, and that'll include some at school. So more to come a year from now in how that went. But that in a nutshell is the Chattanooga 2.0 K-Ready campaign.
Thank you so much. Wow. What questions do you all have? Feel free to turn your videos on. Hopefully you finished your lunch by now. And can come on screen, come off mute, ask some questions. To me, I'll buffer for just 60 seconds here while you're thinking of your questions. The thing that I would say that excites me about today's Lunch and Learn is that you're seeing it kind of in two different contexts, and you're seeing kind of two different approaches to work that really takes collective impact to make it happen, right? This is not something that any one entity can do. It's not something that really any one entity has the purview to make happen, right? It takes work across sectors, and it takes work with a bunch of different planning, whether that's multiple school districts or whether that's coordinated efforts with museums and the school district and other things like that. So really exciting things that are happening here. I'll pause for a second and see if there's any questions, and then I do have some wrap-up announcements as well. So, all right, you guys know I'll let it linger until those burning questions come. So what are they?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say this is awesome. Y'all are hitting it out of the park. And my friend over there, Jennifer, I didn't even know y'all had 2.0 had that much going on. And I want to say congratulations to my friend in the county over here for making all that happen. Good job.
Christy, you knew they had all that going on because you've been a part of it too. So
not as
that's
much
awesome.
as I should have, obviously, because I'm thinking, Jennifer, when did you sleep? Because you got a lot going on, girl.
I love it. Thanks, Christy.
Christy at the city is really running hard on the Chattanooga basics for the birth to age 3 as well as the precursor to the K-Ready campaign.
Jonathan.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I should have raised.
Go for it.
This is Jim Thompson.
Deborah,
I
and
don't
then
have
Karen.
a question. Weird. Okay, Karen, you go ahead and then I'll jump in.
No, you're good. You can go ahead.
Okay. So I don't have a question, but we are just getting started. South Central Tennessee and United Way. Our first meeting is next month, which is the orientation and the launch. So thank you so much for this. It's sort of like drinking from a fire hose, but really great to see all the different perspectives and how you guys are working on this. And I'm sure I'll have more questions as we move forward. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, and it's exciting because you guys are at the kind of the front end of this, and they're kind of in the middle of launching this and getting it going. So it's a preview of what's to come and what can come in South Central. So great. Karen?
Good afternoon. Just wanted to say that I enjoyed both presentations. Wanted to take this opportunity to definitely speak to my friend Christy in the Head Start world or previous Head Start world. I had a question regarding pre-K. You mentioned the Bracken K assessment, Jennifer. Is there any alignment with your pre-K classrooms or Head Start? Are they assessing children before they come to kindergarten, or like what happens in the pre-K space to ensure that they're ready before kindergarten?
It's a great question. So phase 2 of the K-Ready kindergarten transition and alignment project is going to be kind of an asset inventory of what is the pre-K experience across private childcare, public preschool, and Head Start. The Bracken entrance screener is just for kindergarten entrance, like in August. It is my understanding, and I know Christy will correct me if I'm wrong, that Head Start uses, I think it's Brigance. Is that right, Christy?
We're using, yeah, Brigance for a screener and the lap for the ongoing assessment.
And then Hamilton County Schools pre-K was using ESGI. So I think that there is still, it made it sound really rosy what I presented, but I think that we still have work to do. And I think this baseline data is only going to motivate people in Hamilton County to want to know, especially childcare programs. And I didn't say childcare teachers, especially the private pre-K, were just so excited to hear this, what the kindergarten teachers were saying, because there's no communication feedback loop there. And so I think I see a space where we either have alignment or we have partnerships with the school district where the data is shared back and forth so that they can see if the screener that is being used for pre-K is reflective of what they're learning once they get to kindergarten. So I think that it's not all the same.
Hey, Jennifer, can I say something to that? Because so history, we in the state of Tennessee, we have tried for years to agree upon a screener. And probably 15 years ago, we had a gentleman that came in and we had agreed we'd do the Brigance, and oh gosh, things happened. He got sick. I mean, so there has been some work around it. And I know over here with the Head Start, we want to be in alignment with Hamilton County Schools. So we'd be looking, we're looking at how it goes with the Bracken and we may be looking at adopting that at some point. And I have to say hi to my friend Karen because I miss her. And one other thing, when y'all are building out these systems, please keep Head Start and Early Head Start in mind because, and I had put it in the chat, we have 26 Head Start grantees across the state, and they're serving about 14,000 children. And we are required by Head Start performance standards to have school readiness goals, to have a research-based assessment, and a research-based screening tool. And so I would hope y'all would include some of those folks in your conversations because they are very willing to speak to you about that. And I serve as the vice president of the association. And I do have a list of all those contacts, the folks you would need to contact to get those people at the table. But I'm not in Head Start, but I kind of am. But I still love Head Start and try to bring them in the conversation every opportunity I can.
Thank you so much, Christine. Well, thank you all for attending. I'd like to especially thank our fellows, Jennifer and Beth, and our special guests with Dr. Dishner and Dr. Hyde for taking the time to share the work that you guys have been doing. I feel like this is one of the functions of the Bright Start Tennessee Network is this cross-pollination where we're able to share some of the things that are happening, some of the successes and wins across communities, so where we can kind of learn how to replicate some of that. And just want to give you a couple closing things. One, I put in the chat, I dropped a link for an evaluation. If you don't mind to take 60 seconds, it doesn't take long while we're closing up, if you don't mind to do that. And hit that link and then tell us how we can make this better. And then tell us how we can also, what topics you want to hear about in the future. So another thing I want to just kind of throw real quick is that we've got you've probably heard about this multiple times, but it's open now. It's live now for nominations. We're hosting our first annual Tennessee Early Educator Awards. I will also drop a link in the chat for that as well. But just would love for you all to both nominate folks that are in this space, but then also to share this with your networks far and wide. So would love for you to participate in kind of helping us spread the word on that. And then the last thing I'll say before we shut this down is that hopefully next month, our next Lunch and Learn is going to be about our Data Dashboard 2.0. So many of you guys have seen and used our data dashboard. We've got an upgrade to that now. It's in a beta mode soft launch right now, but we hope to kind of bring back our child trends experts that have helped us to kind of develop this and talk about kind of what is there now new this year that hasn't been there in the past. So thank you all for all that you do for children across our state. Appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.